In for a bit more celebration, we say hello to David Samson and Matt Snyder. Gentlemen, it's that day. There's so much excitement in it, but we do have to sink our teeth into some of these box scores now with the real thing off and running. David, talk to me about the Yankees, because this is a team that lineup construction was one thing, the closer was another, both coming to the forefront here on opening day. What stole the headline for you?
Well, for me, it's the fact that Devin Williams is in that closer spot, and you got to look at what that is, and that is pain, and that often results in pleasure. And he threw 35 or 36 pitches, and he was able to get the save. It's so critical. I remember all my opening days. You don't want to blow a save on opening day. Even though it's one game, it still can feel crushing. Coming back to win is what the Brewers were trying. You had Chourio, who won't go 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts again the rest of the year. I promise you that. And you've got Yelich, who had an opportunity. So the Brewers played Brewers baseball. It just didn't work for them. But again, let's not think that opening day means more than it does, other than for an executive who thinks when you win, you're going to go 162-0, and when you lose, you feel like you'll never win again.
Yeah, and that's the main point, right? What David said is that we can't go too crazy about this. It's only 1/162nd of the way, but it is a real game. And given the Yankees' problems in their rotation with the Garrett Cole injury, but also Clark Schmidt, Luis Gil on down the road, the rotation just decimated during spring training. I thought it was a pretty good outing by Carlos Rodon to go out there and give them the innings that he gave them, not get knocked around the yard. And I know the Brewers don't look like they have that powerful of an offense, and they do the little things, right? They play small ball, they run a lot, but Chourio, Christian Yelich, William Contreras, that's a very formidable bunch at the top of the order. He didn't really get hurt by those guys, so I thought it was very encouraging on the mound from Rodon.
It was exciting stuff from the third pitch of the season for that Yankee offense. We'll see what it looks like moving forward. Looking forward to Nestor Cortez in that building wearing a different uniform on Friday. Fellas, we also have a walk-off here as the Marlins come away with one, and it's sort of a storyline that we saw for plenty of last season. It was the star righty in Paul Skenes putting together a nice power outing, and then in the end, a no decision because his team coughs one up. This was one of the best mound matchups of the day. Matt, when you looked at Skenes' day, plenty was said leading up to this one about what he expects to be or do this season. What did you make of our first glimpse?
I mean, it was more of the same. He's so good. He's so smooth in his delivery. His stuff is just on point all the time. And I remember when I was talking to Christian Yelich during the All-Star break last year, and he said, the thing about him is you see guys that have similar stuff, and you see guys who throw 100. He's just so advanced for his age. He was like, I can't believe how much he was setting me up, a kid like that. So and again, you're going to see a team like the Marlins who don't have that many great hitters, don't have that many experienced hitters, haven't seen that much of Skenes. You're going to see a lot of the swing and miss there. I actually thought we were going to see more. I thought they were going to strike out about 10 times against him. Again, Pirates defense didn't do him any favors. Pirates offense didn't do him any favors. I actually really liked how Sandy Alcantara looked until the last 4 batters of his outings. That was really fun for the first 4 2/3 or so to see that Skenes versus Alcantara back and forth.
And it's so important to realize when you're looking at these games that this ended up with 9 runs scored, and you're thinking the best pitching matchup of the day, and then you realize that Skenes had to use 94 pitches to go 5+. That's really not what aces need to be doing, and I understand that he's young, and I understand all the responsibilities that he wants on and off the field, but you have to have some sort of ability to give length, and for a team like the Pirates, or really most of the teams, you don't want to be able to count on your bullpen and have 4, 5, 6 guys come in, all of whom can get shutdown innings, because it's unlikely to happen more often than not, and that's how you lose 90 games in a season. And today's game was a perfect example. Sandy and Paul really had nothing to do with the end of the game because they were both out of there so early, and that's why you try to figure out how to build your bullpen and how to make it so they can last through a season. And it's the hardest thing to do when you're putting a team together. And look, 2 aces on the mound, legitimate aces, and the final score is 5-4, and those 2 pitchers had 0 to do. Both no decisions, and both couldn't see the 6th inning.
Top flight arms on bottom tier teams, and this is what we get once again. I know you heated patience, David, but if I told you I could get you Juan Soto at the plate with the tying runs aboard and a 3-0 count, and Juan Soto doesn't come through in his first game as a Met, what would you tell me then?
I would tell you that he'll go in the Hall of Fame and he'll fail about 65% of the time if he's that good. So I understand how it is for fans. You have Soto up there. It's the dream. You assume, but by the way, Josh Hader is maybe the best closer,
Nasty.
I don't want to say of my career, but man, he's really good. And he also wasn't particularly sharp. He got right to the edge, and then all of a sudden he knuckled down and he got the save by getting through Lindor and getting through Soto. But again, Soto will come through. He was on base 3 times, I think, this game. It just didn't happen that particular time. And for the Astros, what was noteworthy for me was Valdez did pitch like an ace. He got them through 7 innings, and that is what you want from a number 1 starter.
Well, more often than not, the Mets are going to score more than 1 run throughout the course of the. Well, they said 0 for 8 innings, but yeah, they're going to more often than not score more than this. But I still, when you look at this game, for me, it's when you're facing somebody like Framber Valdez and he's going out and he's dealing and he's throwing up zeros, you feel like you need to have the ability to do that on your side too. And the Mets are starting Clay Holmes in their top spot in the rotation, who's a converted reliever to a starter because they didn't go out and do enough to address the rotation in the offseason. Then Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas went down. They wanted to use Kodai Senga at the back end of the rotation. I had concerns heading into the year about the Mets starting rotation, and just because they lost 3-1 and it was a pitcher's duel did not alleviate any of those concerns for me, because I was like, if they would have addressed the rotation, they would have had an ace here. Maybe it's 1-1 going into the 9th, and maybe they go to extra innings here.
It was an interesting situation to be in, and one that I'm sure is going to be taken in stride by those Met fans. Let's get to Boston, because we had a big-time debut in Garrett Crochet going for the Boston Red Sox. Matt, we talked about it a couple days ago, expectations for him, and the performance that we've come to expect here now as he positions himself for that long-term deal. For Crochet, it was 5 innings of work, 5 hits, 2 runs, 4 Ks, no decision. Boston does get the victory here, but this is another top-flight arm in a place where he's going to be asked to be in big situations. What did you make of his opening day?
Perfectly adequate, right? I mean, it's so perfect that we just talked, what David just talked about with Skenes, is not being able to get later in the game. Crochet threw 88 pitches through those 5 innings, and I believe that the Rangers are going to be a very, very good offensive team this year. I think they're going to be a lot better than last year. They're going to look more like 2023 in that lineup. But he didn't even get hurt by Simeon, Seager, Wyatt Langford, Adolis Garcia. He didn't get hurt by any of those guys. It was the second part of the order twice where they dinged him up, and it was being so inefficient and throwing so many pitches. Even in the first inning when he struck out 2 guys and he didn't get touched up at all, I believe he threw 22 pitches, and by the time he was done with Jake Berger, the first batter of the second inning, he was up to 30 pitches already. Going to have to be a lot more efficient, especially in the American League East, than that.
I'll tell you right now, you got to stop about this long-term deal stuff, because if that's on his mind, he's not going to get it. And going 5 innings does not get you a Garrett Cole contract. And we're going to talk about length. We love talking about length. 5 innings for a team that has pennant aspirations, dare I say World Series aspirations. If you're going to be the number 1 starter for the Red Sox, you can't be the 5-and-dive guy. And so I understand Crochet. Yeah, I don't want to pitch in October without a deal. I want a long-term deal. All the talking, it's got to stop. He's got to perform every 5 days, and then a long-term deal will come to him. It's not a league where you get paid because of who you think you may be. We pay the position players and pitchers when they're young from time to time to guarantee arbitration years, but that's not what Crochet is talking about. He's talking about going into the stratosphere, and I had players like that often who wanted to be paid in a way that didn't merit it at the time they wanted it, and we would tell the player, you have to do something. And Crochet, he's not on the White Sox anymore, who, by the way, got an amazing win today, one of their few. But he's now on a team that's supposed to win, and he's got to be the guy every 5 days to keep the winning train rolling.
A ricochet shot there. The White Sox, they post a crooked number here late in the game and can't even get a smell. One of few wins this season for the White Sox. But to your point, Crochet no longer operating in relative anonymity there on the south side. Now going to be in big spots and in the spotlight with the Boston Red Sox. Spotlight stolen maybe by Mackenzie Gore on this day. 13 Ks in his work to start a season off. David, I know sometimes you look at these things and they're obviously to be celebrated, but when you look at a workload and you look at a pitch count and we want to say good on you for what you did here on opening day. The executive in you, do you worry about maybe shoved a little too hard here to start the season?
No, we wanted our pitchers to be ready to go over 100 pitches and go 8 or more innings. That's what spring training is for. I don't know why you have to be in spring training for 40 days just to go 3 innings or 4 innings as a starting pitcher or go 92, 94 pitches. I long for the days, and don't call me old school. This is just baseball. I don't want to have to count on 6 bullpen arms to be good every single day. The reason I want starting pitching is that's my best chance to win. And so when you have a pitcher like Gore and you see what he's doing and that stuff, it's just nasty. That's going to happen from time to time throughout a season if you've got that level of quality of pitches that Gore has. You see it opening day, I'm thinking we're like July. I'm ready to go, let him go, and I'm fine.
Could not agree more. I mean, one of the reasons that Sandy Alcantara became my favorite pitcher in baseball in 2022 is when I talked to him at the All-Star game. He said, I expect to finish every game. I know people tell me I'm old school just because I think the 9th should be mine. I don't want to hand it over to somebody in the bullpen. So, yeah, no, 6 innings on opening day. Come on. And the underbelly of the Nationals bullpen is not very good. And we saw what happened there. They've got the 1-0 lead against Zach Wheeler. They're trying to cling to it. Then you take Mackenzie Gore out, and what immediately happens? Bryce Harper hits a home run. Kyle Schwarber hits a home run. They end up in extra innings, and they lose by multiple runs in extra innings there. They don't have a very good bullpen. That's all the more reason that when you have a starter who's capable of throwing the way that Mackenzie Gore threw today, and Gore, he's been very inconsistent the last 2 years, but he is capable of throwing like an ace from time to time. When he's going like that, you need to be able to have him go 7 or 8 innings, especially when, as I said, in front of Kyle Finnegan, that Nationals bullpen, it's not that sturdy of a bridge.
Did it in just 93 pitches, to your guys' point, efficiently, no walks, recorded 18 outs, 13 of them strikeouts. Fellas, we've only just begun. Can't wait for the whole season. All right, here's a look at some notable notes from opening day. And you skip class. You get the kids out of school. You go to the ballpark. It's what you do. Only one way to celebrate. How about some dingers? Austin Wells on the 3rd pitch of the season in that leadoff spot. Tyler O'Neill also went boom with his 6th straight season with a home run on opening day. That is something special. Guy loves himself a little opening day action, and Harpo in that comeback win also delivered.